Hey everybody, and welcome to the workshop. Today we got ourselves a turning video, and I'm looking forward to this. I have not turned this type of pin kit before. This one is called the Gear Shift Tire Spinner. So it's nothing that I've turned before, but it is sort of like the 30 cal pin kits that it has the clicker on there. This has a gear shift, so something similar, but this one also has a tire that goes on the top of it, kind of like a spinner. So kind of looking forward to doing that. Today we're going to be turning or using Purple Heart blank for this. Now Purple Heart can sometimes chip out. I've had a couple of times where I've just snapped these off, so I do have to be careful, but I do have a new jig that hopefully will help that out. So let's get started on this project. All right, step one. First thing we got to do is open up our kit and get out the tube, because the first thing we're going to do is make marks on there. Now, I try to get the tube as close to the edge as I possibly can without actually going over. You want to leave just the tiniest bit of meat on the ends, so that way we can square it up to the brass tube later. So just barely. And we're going to take ourselves a pencil, and on the other side we're going to mark it as close as we can, but still getting some meat on there. So there's our mark. Second thing we're going to do is now take this jig, which I got this off of Amazon. I don't have an affiliate link for it, but if I have one in the future, then I'll try to go back and put it in there. Now, this section is the section we're going to use, so you can just make a little mark just to indicate, hey, this is not the portion we're not going to use. And now we're going to find the center line of it, and that's the beauty of this little jig right here. It was inexpensive. You put it in there, it registers, and now it gives you the ability to mark across. You flip it, mark it again. Now we have our little X, our little X right here, and so now we know where the center is. So when it comes time to drill the holes, we can drill the holes. So time to go on to the next step. Okay, we're ready to drill out the center here for the brass tube. So I've got it chucked up in my vise that has the aluminum jaw inserts right here that allow it to hold on, and it does have the V-grooves in here, which I really like. So just tighten this down, and it doesn't matter if we deform the wood any here either by tightening it down too tight. We just need it tight so that way it doesn't go anywhere. And I've got a 3/8 drill bit chucked up in the drill, so let's get this thing drilled out. Okay, the next step in the process is we're going to now glue the tube into the blank. And before we do that, in order to try to keep anything from getting inside of the tube, we're going to take some Play-Doh, squish it up, and then we're just going to put it right into the end of it there, just like that. So that way nothing will get into the end. and I'm using just a 15-minute epoxy. This epoxy is pretty much just a 1-to-1, and I just eyeball it. I just move it up and down and twist it all around in there and try to make sure that the epoxy gets into everywhere. I'm going to push it down and clean off the excess and just try to make sure that it is down below the surface on both sides. And at the moment it's a little bit slick, so I've got it below the surface, so now it's just time to wait. Alright, the glue is dry in there now, and I already popped the Play-Doh out of there. So next is to get a sleeve, which is a 3/8 sleeve, which is going to fit inside of here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this onto here, and this is a mini disc sander. And so now we're just going to run this back and forth so that way we can get both edges smooth with the brass tubes. So that's the next step. We have come to the fun part of this. We get to do the turning. So at this point, I'm going to put the blank onto the mandrel here to hold it. We're going to turn it, and then afterwards we're going to get some sandpaper, which is going from 150 grit up to 600 grit, and get this thing sanded up. So let's go. Okay, we've got the monogramming done on it, and it's looking really awesome. So the next step is going to be put it onto the lathe and to put the CA finish on and get it micro mesh so the sucker looks absolutely gorgeous. And since you've made it this far into the video, if you think that I've earned it, then I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. But if not, it's all good. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching the video. So let's get to putting some finish on. All right, we're ready for assembly now. This one is a new one for me, so we'll see how this goes. Now the instructions say to put something back here because there is a little nub back here and we'll want to try to protect it. So that's just a piece of leather here to try to help protect it as I squish it together. Next thing here is we're going to have this little bearing because this right here is kind of like a little fidget spinner. So the next thing we're going to do is to press the bearing into the holder. Now putting the holder, and this is a little nub that it was talking about, putting this over top of here, and then we're supposed to put this little screw in here. Okay, and then we screw the fidget spinner, or the thing that looks like a tire, onto it. Sweet! We have a tire spinner, fidget spinner. That's pretty cool. And on this, I don't know how well you can see this, but you have basically a tapered end, so this side right here is a little bit smaller than this end, which you could also see the curls, there's more of them over here. Goes in on this direction. Take the nib back off. Feed this into here. Okay. That's pretty cool. You got the fidget spinner on the end, and then the part that actually pulls the pin out, or the ink cartridge out, also is almost like a fidget spinner in itself. You can put it at any one of the little places here, last 4 places, and it doesn't come out far enough for the end of the ink to come out. But when you push it all the way forward, you can lock it in on either position, and it is out far enough to be able to write. So that's pretty darn cool right there. I like that a lot. So now for the next thing, we're going to be creating a box. I have 3D printed a box that I found on Maker World that I thought was really cool looking, and so now we're going to assemble that. Make sure I know which direction is the forward direction. Okay, goes in this direction. This was printed with just basic PLA. Doesn't need to be anything super fancy. And I'm going to be using some medium super glue. This just happens to be what I have on hand. I don't have any of the uber fancy stuff. Just trying to make sure I get it right the first time, because once it dries, there ain't no getting it back off. Guess I didn't leave it long enough. Okay, that'll be good enough. It'll dry the rest of the way later. This has a pretty neat little locking mechanism here. Inside of here, there's a little groove to accept, a lot of fuzzies on it, to accept this piece right here. So it slides into here, and then you end up pushing it down to let it out. That's how this particular one works. Sweet. And you've got arrows pointing upwards on this one. So now we're going to put the bottom on. So you want this one to go the same way. And this model came with little plastic screws as well, which I think is just neat. Can't tighten it down too much because, I mean, this is just basic PLA plastic, so crank down too hard and you're going to break them. Granted, I 3D printed it, so I could always 3D print more. Well, that doesn't want to get started. All right. That is super cool. I absolutely love that. Now, I'm going to do one more thing. I have some foam, and I'm going to cut out a piece of foam and put it into here, and then cut out a shape for the pen to be able to sit into. So that'll be the next thing that I do. Okay, everything is now completely finished. The pen came out looking really awesome. It's cool having the fidget spinner on there and being able to just kind of play with it as you're going along. I can see this thing kind of getting worn out a little bit just fidgeting with it, but this thing just looks super cool. If you decide to build one of these for yourself, I don't think that you'll be disappointed. However, understand this thing is a chunky boy. Very, very chunky. So it's heavy and is quite high quality. However, keep in mind this sucker is heavy, so this is not going to be a pen for a daily driver. This right here is a bit of a novelty, but it is really cool to look at. It is really fun to play with and everything, and so it does make for a really cool gift. The box came out looking just super awesome. I like being able to have the adjustable text on there, so that way you can customize it to the person, which is cool. It just looks like a super cool little tough box, and it worked out absolutely perfect for the size of this pen, because some of the boxes may not be quite deep enough for it, but seeing as how we've got a substantial pen, it's kind of nice for a substantial box. So this thing right here turned out really awesome. So thank you so much for joining me as I made this pen. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll enjoy getting to see y'all come back again next time.